The film opens with a note stating that every year, around 42,000 people are killed on highways, not by accidents, but by deliberate killings. Then we're introduced to a couple, Grace and her husband, who are traveling out of the city for holiday. During their drive, as night falls, heavy rain begins pouring down, but the couple continues their journey, chatting along the way. Suddenly, Grace's husband gets distracted and doesn't notice a man standing in the middle of the road. Grace screams just in time, and he hits the brakes, narrowly avoiding him. The man just stands there silently, motionless, and their car stops nearby. Grace's husband steps out to help, but Grace feels uneasy and tells him not to go. Before he can decide, the stranger himself approaches their car, and they speed off. The man watches them leave, clearly angry that they didn't stop to help. Soon after, a truck appears on the same road, possibly the man's next victim. The couple, still shaken, assumes the stranger was a criminal and drives to a nearby gas station. Grace heads to the restroom while her husband informs the station worker about the man on the highway, asking him to send help if possible. Unexpectedly, the same truck arrives, and out steps none other than the man from the road. But he isn't a thief. He simply got a lift from the truck driver. Seeing him, Grace's husband hides his face in embarrassment. When the man enters the store, Grace's husband reluctantly follows to pay for gas. The stranger doesn't recognize him at first, which offers brief relief. But once the worker mentions their earlier encounter, Grace's husband feels ashamed and apologizes. The man laughs it off, saying, "It's okay, I forgive you. Relax." He introduces himself as Hitcher and mentions that he's looking for a hotel. The worker tells him about one nearby and suggests he can stay there. Hitcher then asks for a lift. Out of guilt, Grace's husband can't say no. Grace returns just in time to see him inviting Hitcher into their car. She doesn't like it at all but stays quiet and sits in the back seat. As they drive, Hitcher's behavior grows strange. He asks inappropriate questions about Grace, making both of them uncomfortable. When Grace's husband questions him back, Hitcher laughs and says he's not married. He only wears a ring so people trust him easily. That response makes the couple even more uneasy, realizing he's not a good person. Before they can react, Hitcher grabs Grace's husband's phone and smashes it. Then, he pulls out a knife, confirming their worst fears: he's dangerous. Grace quickly reaches for her phone to call the police, but before she can dial, Hitcher snatches it. Her husband, terrified, asks what he wants, money or the car, but Hitcher wants neither. Amid the chaos, the car speeds uncontrollably. Grace's husband slams the brakes, throwing Hitcher forward into the windshield. The glass shatters, injuring him. Without wasting a second, the husband accelerates again, trying to escape. Grace opens the door, and together they kick Hitcher out of the moving car. Breathing heavily, they finally think they're safe. Her husband tells Grace to call the police immediately, but her phone is missing. It must have fallen out. Unfortunately, Hitcher had already heard her friend's voice earlier, which means he knows exactly where they're heading. Hours pass. Around 4 a.m., while driving, Grace's husband begins to doze off. He pulls the car aside to rest, but as he starts to fall asleep, a nightmare jolts him awake, Hitcher smashing through the window and grabbing him. He wakes up sweating, realizing it was just a bad dream. She tells him she wants to go back home, but he insists on reaching the next town to report Hitcher to the police. Reluctantly, she agrees, and they continue. Soon, they pass a car with a cheerful family headed for vacation. Seeing the kids makes them smile, until they spot Hitcher sitting inside that car. Their smiles fade instantly. Knowing the family is in danger, Grace's husband pulls over and tries to warn them, but before he can, a truck appears from the front, nearly crashing into them. In an attempt to dodge it, their car flips and hits a tree. They survive but lose sight of Hitcher and the family's car. When Grace regains her senses, she tries to follow the family, but they're gone. The car is wrecked, forcing them to continue on foot. Soon, they spot an orange truck and wave for help, but no one stops. As they keep walking, they find the same family's car up ahead. Grace rushes to check it and breaks down in tears. The children are dead in the back seat, and their parents lie motionless in front. The father is barely alive, a knife stuck in his stomach. Grace's husband pulls her away and puts her in the driver's seat, trying to save the man. But then, the orange truck rams into their car repeatedly. Hitcher is driving it. After several terrifying collisions, Hitcher drives off. Grace and her husband stop at a roadside cafe to recover. Grace goes inside, tells the waitress to call the police, and heads to the restroom for a towel. There, she sees the orange truck parked outside, and faints in fear. Hitcher has already been there. Moments later, someone knocks on the restroom door. She locks it and hides until the footsteps fade. When she finally comes out, she's met with a gun pointed at her face, a policeman. Another officer has her husband at gunpoint too. The wounded man from earlier is dead, and now the police suspect them of murder. Instead of listening to their explanation, the police arrest both of them. Grace is taken for questioning while her husband is locked in a cell. She pleads with them, saying, "It's Hitcher. He's insane. He's been following us since last night. He killed that family. He'll kill everyone. We're innocent." But the officers don't believe her. Grace tries to talk to the officers from her cell window. But suddenly, Hitcher appears, opens the door, and draws a smiley face on the glass. Her husband starts shouting for help. Moments later, Hitcher breaks in, kills the guards, and kidnaps him. When Grace escapes her cell, she's horrified to find the entire police team slaughtered, bodies lying in pools of blood. Realizing one man managed to wipe out all these armed officers terrifies her. If even the police aren't safe from Hitcher, how could they ever escape him? It's clear now, he isn't just a killer. He's a complete madman. Grace quickly grabs a fallen officer's gun, heads downstairs, and frees her husband from the lockup. Together, they try to escape before more police arrive. When reinforcements reach the station, Grace wants to surrender and explain everything, but her husband stops her. He warns that the police already suspect them. Going to them would only make things worse. They decide to flee through the nearby hills. Meanwhile, the police captain arrives at the station and is stunned by the scene. So many dead officers, yet the only suspects are a frightened couple. He can't believe they could cause such carnage. But when he sees the smiley face on the glass, he realizes something else is going on. There's a third player in this deadly game. Grace and her husband find an abandoned junkyard full of old, rusting cars. As they search for a place to hide, Grace spots Hitcher approaching. They're planning their next move when a police officer suddenly appears. Grace's husband goes out to explain, but the officer arrests him immediately. Grace rushes out with a gun, shouting for the officer to listen, but over the police radio, the captain hears the commotion and assumes she's threatening them. He sends in his full team. Grace tries to convince the officer to help, but before he can respond, a bullet pierces his head. Grace freezes. She didn't shoot. It was Hitcher. But the captain, hearing only the gunfire, assumes Grace is responsible. Now the couple has no choice but to run. The captain orders every car and helicopter to pursue them. As they escape in a police vehicle, they try to explain the situation over the radio, but no one believes them. When they refuse to stop, the captain gives the command to open fire. Bullets rain down, forcing them to pull over. Just then, another vehicle joins the chase. It's Hitcher. The scene turns into chaos. Hitcher drives alongside the police cars, shooting officers one by one. He fires at a helicopter, killing the pilot, which sends it crashing out of control. Amid the mayhem, Hitcher's car malfunctions, but he manages to overtake the couple before disappearing down the highway. Grace and her husband abandon their car and run on foot until they find a small roadside motel. Exhausted and shaken, they sneak into a room, hoping to call a friend for help. But Grace realizes the room phone is connected to the front desk, so she can't risk calling. After a long, stressful day, Grace turns on the TV to distract herself, but soon dozes off. When she wakes up, she sees someone entering the room. It's not her husband. It's Hitcher. He lunges at her, but Grace fights back bravely, smashing a lamp over his head and escaping. She frantically searches the motel for her husband, but when she finds him, he's tied up, bleeding and barely conscious. Hitcher had beaten and restrained him brutally. Grace tries to free him, but Hitcher appears again, pulling on the truck that's attached to her husband's chains. Desperate, Grace grabs a gun and threatens Hitcher. She warns him that if he moves, she'll hit the clutch, which will kill her husband. Hitcher taunts her, testing her resolve. The police arrive just then, surrounding them. Hitcher calmly explains his twisted philosophy. He never wanted to die himself. He wanted her to kill him. He says, "I was giving you a chance to end it, but you couldn't." Then, dropping his weapon, he gives her one last opportunity. "Come on, Grace. Kill me." But Grace hesitates. If she shoots now, the police might think she's guilty. She can't risk it. Hitcher smirks, realizing she won't do it, and suddenly attacks again. Grace is devastated, overwhelmed, and in shock. Hitcher is finally arrested and transferred to a high-security van. The captain warns his team not to underestimate him. This man is far too dangerous. Grace is placed in a separate vehicle for medical care before being released to her parents. But Hitcher isn't done. During transport, he dislocates his thumb to slip out of the handcuffs, enduring immense pain but staying silent. Then, with frightening precision, he slits the throat of the officer in front of him and shoots the others. The van loses control and crashes into the captain's car, where Grace is also seated. Both are injured. The captain's leg is pinned, and he tells Grace to run. But she's done running. Summoning every ounce of courage, Grace grabs a gun and goes after Hitcher. She locks him inside a burning van as gasoline leaks everywhere. Hitcher fires at her, igniting the flames, and then kills the captain with a final shot. But Grace refuses to back down. She leaps from the flames, grabs another weapon, and shoots Hitcher multiple times. wearing a protective jacket with the word Edge on it, symbolic of his name, Hitcher, the one who kills. He laughs weakly and says, "Feels good to kill me, doesn't it?" Grace stares coldly and replies, "My happiness died with my husband." Then she fires the last shot into his head, ending his madness once and for all. With that, Grace's revenge is complete. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.